Bazaar has been a pretty consistent, it's been pretty consistent for us. At least here on the broadcast, we've been seeing Bazaar come up, I think, a large majority of the time. It's either been that, Quarantine, or Downfall. Those have been like the three big maps I've been seeing in the past few weeks here. Originally, it was Suburbia coming up in like almost every single match, but we kind of faded away from that recently, obviously with our last match being an exception. But now we're back to the big maps once again, and it's very reminiscent of the map choices that we had back in Season 2 as well. Now, granted, in Season 2, we were operating primarily on best of threes, if I recall correctly, so there was a lot more maps being played in general. But still, the overall, I think, preference among teams is remaining the same and tending to shift toward these larger maps. We're in it, though, ladies and gentlemen. The beginning of the first round has begun. The beginners are on the attacking side, and the Vikings are on defense.
With this being a bit of a bigger map, might take a little bit longer to see the action go down. A lot of more scoping out to be had here, looking around, making sure that all corners, buildings, angles are being checked here. Don't lose a man early on just to a silly mistake.
Of course, we can see the beginners, the big story with them. Taking a look at some of their players, we've got brothers on this team. You may notice two very similar usernames. We've got Icy Woods and Woods43. They are brothers in real life, both of them hailing from the UK, if I recall correctly, and have been playing together, at least going back to the previous season. Oftentimes we actually see them forming a little bit of a duo in some maps as well, kind of supporting each other. That's very cool to see. We've got a lot of nice family stories that have been popping up in the VRL, even going back to Season 1.
And it makes sense as well, right? Brothers in arms, brothers that are used to each other. If you can pull it off in-game and in something that is as realistic as Onward is, that's where it comes on to a bit more intuition being played into the effect there. Now we're hearing some of the communication already. Beginners looking to start and slowly push out here. Like we said, we've got plenty of time on the clock for this. You're not going to see them push out early on here. Now they've got an interesting split at the moment where we've got 3 players really over to more towards the north base, 1 over towards the south, and then 1 up in the north. So they're really just trying to triangulate their position at the moment and work the advantage from here. But it's going to be a little while before the action goes down, and they're being ever so cautious here, and that's why they need to be until they can find the first players. And that's exactly what Kev has done so far, firing off some shots, but he's not been able to make them connect just yet.
Kev finds a nice mark in the window, but yeah, like you said, no connection just as of yet. This is also one of the maps that it's going to be one of the hardest for players to aim on, just because of the fact that it's so long range. You have to be incredibly precise, especially if you're working with a standard rifle, just due to the recoil, basically only making your first 2 to 3 shots accurate at the target you're aiming at, and then before the recoil kicks in, and probably makes it a little bit of a moot point to try and fire anything else at these types of ranges.
We're still hearing the shots go down. Icy Wood starts to make his way out. They're going to look to more focus on this northern side and try and get themselves around to the sandbags if they can. One by one they're going, and this is where the communication comes in, right? One person gets across, okay, that bit's clear. We can all go out and group up a bit more together. We've got a 3-2 split going on as it is now. So they're still focused on towards this northern side.
Dr. Killinger is going to be kind of front and center for this push down from the north now. Beginners are running out of time, so they do need to start moving with some haste, and this is where mistakes could start to be made. This is where Vikings might be able to get lucky, find a few of the beginners in transition between cover and pick them off. But no, it's going to be one of the Woods brothers, Woods43, that picks up the opening frag against Noctum. Takes him out outright, no chance of a revive for the Vikings. So finally, after about 3 or 4 minutes here of waiting, we do get our first frag in the favor of the beginners. It's not long before Mantis strikes back with a quick headshot, knocking out Smoils.
And that's a really good pickup for him, right? Because Vikings weren't able to get a refrag off the first kill that came in. And now beginners, they lose a man as well. But the nades are coming once again. And Dr. Killinger's going to find himself the first one onto it. Vikings now heavily under pressure. And watch this as beginners have swarmed the area completely.
And I have a lot of danger close fighting going on now, especially for Kev, as he works his way up to the second floor of this compound. He's a little bit unsure on it. Icy Woods was able to knock out another member of the Vikings. Oh no! Femi Fungi accidentally knocking out Mantis, leaving him now as the only man left standing for his team in this round. Under a minute left here, we could potentially be seeing Kev try to go for an uplink as well, considering it's more actually going to be Icy Woods attempting it. Femi Fungi having to run out and prevent this, but they may want to delay the kill if at all possible due to how close they are to that uplink, but no, it's not going to work. The beginners, and Icy Woods specifically being given so much time, he will send the uplink code, close out the opening round for the beginners, and get that final kill on top of it all. Beautiful stuff by the beginners, and they're already on map point now.
Beautiful stuff done there from beginners. It was that very tactical style of approach. They got the first kill. Vikings weren't able to reply to it, and that's where the problems start. Then Vikings think, oh, well, actually, we've seen the player. A little bit of time goes by. They managed to even up into a 4v4, but that's when all hell broke loose. We saw the team kill come in. We saw beginners say, okay, this is now easier for us to take full control. And the uplink, they were like, well, let's just go and get 2 points. Let's make this easier for ourselves. Let's make this a quicker game overall. Smart stuff coming out from them and the Vikings. They're going to be kicking themselves a little bit. And now, the team kill, it is a hard one, right? Because it's not just like they can look. They have to focus on looking at the radar themselves. It's not something that's just on the screen and they can go, oh, we know where you are. So mistakes like this can happen. But it's crushing when they do, especially when you're thinking, we could have been able to pull that off. We needed that extra man in play.
And that entire round is a perfect example of a high-tier strat that's executed pretty much perfectly by a top team like the Beginners here, because not only do they execute so successfully so late into the round, but they do it in a way where Vikings isn't able to give out any intel. You saw how long Woods was sitting on the uplink. In most other scenarios, he would have been stopped just because of the amount of time he was taking to send the uplink code. He should have done that 2 to 3 times as fast if he only did it in 1 attempt. More than likely took multiple attempts to send that, if I was looking at it correctly from my perspective anyway. And normally you're not going to be given that much opportunity, but because their execute was so swift and so sudden, Vikings, because when they're dead, they can't communicate with their teammates, we're never really able to give out the call. Like, they've taken over the entire area. Like, they're going to go for the uplink. There's no time to give those comms out. And Fimi Fungi probably doesn't even realize it until we see him at the very end rushing out into the open to attempt to stop it. By the time he even gets close to the uplink, it's far too late. The code has been sent, and the round is over.
Well, now it's Vikings' time to see how their tactical warfare is going to work here against Beginners. And it's going to be a rough one as well, because Beginners, that was so smart. It was a good split at the beginning of 1 player up in the north, 1 in the south, and they started to slowly rotate in 1 player at a time, making sure the ground was clear. But in terms of what we're going to see now, how do Vikings do this? Because at the moment, they're very much grouped up towards a similar area, all up on that north base.
Is that a flare?
Yeah.
On the left? Wow, we don't see that too often.
Yo, whoever's in the basement.
Here we go.
Yeah. 1 sec. He just dropped the C4 behind the building in front of us, I think. He was downstairs.
Good communication, good spot. Awareness is up and it's high, and it's needed to be if you want to try and fight back against this.
And C4 is an interesting item for the defenders because it's relatively sneaky. So first of all, you can't put it near the uplink. So because obviously that would make it far too easy to stop attempts. So it's going to kind of like not work. It'll be jammed, so to speak, if you put it too close to the uplink. But you can, especially given the small amount of cover that's available in this map, you can put it in some of the more commonly attacked buildings and use it as a relatively easy way to take players out. Especially considering how dark some of the interiors of those buildings are, you can hide it pretty well. Now, with all this said, I don't think we've ever got a C4 kill on stream before.
Ooh.
So it's very hard to pull off properly, despite how powerful it does sound for zone control.
The shot's being fired off once again. Mantis going to have a look to see where people are playing from. The smokes are going to go down, so this is when Vikings try to attack. Cover fire being put down. Dr. Killinger is going to get himself down. Can he find the kill as well? They start to push in. Smollett's under pressure, but he's still able to get it down with the help of his teammate Kev. And this is an incredibly dominant performance once again. Now, they haven't had everyone killed off. They can still revive one of the players there for Vikings, but they are massively outnumbered.
Now it's going to try to use the smoke as a bit of diversion to wrap himself back around, but it has the opposite effect. Leaves him in the open. Dr. Killinger will get the quick double tap to finish him off. Vikings now down to only 1 man left standing. It's Mantis. Oh no, he's going for it. The holding smoke grenade tactic. Now this does work until you get a nade in your face from Dr. Killinger, where we will see the Beginners be able to get another swift closeout on the matchup for this evening. That's 2 3-0s in a row here on stream, where we're seeing our top teams dominate. First of all, it was Boss Fight, who had been struggling in our previous cup, but seems to be on top of things when they took on the Loyal Dogs. The same can be said for the Beginners against the Vikings. The quick uplink cap to set them already up in 2-0 at the start, and then just a nice little defensive